Hello everyone, Rurikhan here coming at you with another Kast, and I usually don't do casts so close together, but due to the fact that I've been somewhat away from the scene for quite some time, there were a couple of things that showed up that I wanted to address, and I didn't really have the time to do so up until now. And there's also a recent topic that I wanted to talk a little bit about. So that's the reason why I'm doing another cast so soon after the first one. So let's get started with the shout outs, after which I will give you guys a summary of what is going to be on this particular video. So first I would like to give a shout out to Emil Draho. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, but this is the only way I really know how to read it, for donating to the cause, and also Pedro Castro Neto for donating to the cause as well. That last one was, I believe, a Portuguese name or a Brazilian name. So thank you very much for donating to the cause. And now let's go on and talk about what this video is going to be about. So for starters, I want to talk a bit about net neutrality. Now, I don't want to get too much in depth into the whole net neutrality situation, mainly because unlike a lot of people, I don't like talking about stuff to which I do not have the full knowledge of the situation. Like, I know that there's a lot of people saying net neutrality, got to save net neutrality, all this, that, and the other, but it's not as simple as some people make it out to be. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but not going to get too in depth. At least I don't think so. But since I don't really script these videos, who knows? Maybe I will get somewhat in depth. Anyways, after net neutrality, I want to be addressing a little bit about, I want to talk a little bit about the PlayStation Now service. I want to talk about early access games and the Steam machines. So let's get started on the very first topic, net neutrality. So what happened? Apparently there was some kind of a ruling recently in the United States where the net neutrality rules of SCC were challenged by Verizon, and apparently Verizon won. Therefore, FCC cannot enforce some of its net neutrality rules. And you guys might be wondering, how exactly does this affect me? Well, these net neutrality rules, basically what they state, and this is a very basic way of saying things. It's not exactly like this. I'm just trying to simplify it down to its most basic point, is what they say is that the internet should be free and open to everyone, and nobody should be discriminated, so to speak. So let's say if I start a website, if someone tries to access my website, there is nothing that the ISP can do in order to make my website show up slower than, say, Google. Now, obviously, Google's website is going to show up faster regardless, because Google is going to have tons of servers all over the place, whereas I'm going to have maybe one server somewhere. And in my case, I actually, the server that I have, I believe, is located in Portugal. So most of the times, if you go to Google, it's going to open a lot faster than Rurikhan.com. However, it is doing that simply because there's more servers of Google and all that stuff. There is no interaction of the ISP that is making my website slower. So since these rules are no longer in place due to the court ruling that happened in the States recently, what happens is that actually Google can pay my ISP, which they're probably not going to do because, I mean, Portuguese ISPs, Google probably gives two craps about Portuguese ISPs, but not just Google. Google or any other company can pay an ISP to get faster access to the website. So I would, like certain people would, for instance, let's say Verizon users, if Google was to pay Verizon, you guys would have faster access to Google, you would have faster access to YouTube. And you guys are like, well, that's all good then. What's the problem? The problem is that most likely you would have a lot slower access to Rurikhan.com, because I'm not going to pay Verizon, because I can't afford it, for the fast lane traffic. And that's what they want to do. They want to be able, these companies like Comcast and Verizon, they want to be able to provide you different tiers of service. So they can do it like the way that I said it, which means that basically Google would have faster access, or they can just split up the internet kind of like the same way that they split up cable television right now, which would mean you would buy a special package for going on to YouTube, and then you would have a different package, like kind of like channel packages on your cable provider. Like you pay $5 more and you have access to movie channels and stuff like that. That's the way it happens in Portugal anyways. So it would be the same thing. So let's say you would have a packet for $20, you would have access to YouTube and Google. For $15 more, you would have access to Twitter and Facebook, social media package or video package, that kind of stuff. So obviously, when you start looking at it from that angle, you can see how this is going to be pretty bad for the end user, especially because obviously it would all be well and good if these companies could be trusted and could be unbiased, but obviously they have proven time and time again that ISPs in general, I'm not just talking about Verizon or Comcast now. I myself am in a serious situation with an ISP in Portugal, Zon, because they want me to pay them 500 euros for a service that they weren't really providing me. And I refused to pay them, and now they want to put me in some website, and they want to do as many bad things to me as they possibly can. To which my reply is, come at me, bro, but that is neither here nor there. But basically, the point that I'm getting at is that ISPs have proven time and time again they cannot be trusted because they do false advertising, because they have a vested interest in sabotaging websites like YouTube and stuff like that. And you guys are like, why would they have an interest in that? Because most of these companies also provide you with a television service. At least that's the way most of them work. Most ISPs also provide you with a television service, cable television, cable channels, old media, right? So they have a vested interest in you not visiting YouTube. And the simple fact that these net neutrality rules are no longer in place, they can flat out deny you access to YouTube or slow YouTube down to a crawl to force you into actually going and watching TV, for instance, to kind of basically control what you can see or hear. Or let's say a competitor of theirs, they can flat out block the competition's website. So let's say you're currently in an internet plan with Verizon and you want to see other options for a competition, and you go to the internet to see these other options, and all those websites can be blocked because it is at the discretion of the ISP to decide what you can watch. And that is what net neutrality was. Net neutrality basically said, look, every website, everyone is entitled to watch and frequent every single website in the world, every single lawful website, because obviously they don't want you visiting unlawful websites or sites that promote hate speech or whatever. But yeah, pretty much with the net neutrality in place, these were things that were just like taken for granted. So like the ISP was nothing more than the means for you to get to the internet. And once you were on the internet, everyone was on equal footing. Now that this ruling is no longer in place, basically that's what it says, is that everybody is no longer in equal footing, and it opens up all kinds of possibilities for backdoor deals where people can pay more to get faster access on ISPs. And so small websites will obviously not be able to generate maybe as much traffic as other websites because they're going to be on the slow lane. It's essentially, as a lot of people have been saying, it's essentially like a toll booth, where basically if you can pay, you get on the fast lane. If you can't pay, you have to take the national roads, which usually suck. And this is the way things are right now. But it's not as simple as this, because a lot of people seem to think, oh my God, they've won, it's all over. But according to a lot of the articles that I've been reading, apparently the FCC, which is the Federal Communications Commission, who is the people who basically regulate broadband on the United States, they actually have a lot more power than a lot of people are aware of. At least this is according to articles that I've read. I've read an article on Wired. I've read a bunch of articles. And apparently the FCC can just flat out classify these ISPs as, instead of information providers, they can just classify them as common carriers, I believe. That is the term they use, or whatever, which basically means that all they get to do is, just sell you the service and that's it. So FCC can actually, according to the articles that I've read, they can just say, look, you guys are nothing more than glorified engineers. So you just put the cables in people's houses and shut the fuck up about your traffic shaping and all that other bullshit. Apparently FCC can do this, but they're not doing it. So this is where stuff starts getting really weird, because Apparently, FCC can enforce net neutrality regardless of this court ruling because FCC is still has undisputed authority when it comes to broadband. But instead, they want to see these on a case-by-case basis, which really is weird to me. Why wouldn't you just enforce net neutrality and be done with it? Now, obviously, this is a pretty bad thing, and the situation is actually pretty dire. However, a lot of people are actually panicking and all that kinds of stuff, and it's like, where were you guys all those years ago? Because, I mean, net neutrality has been under attack for God knows how long. I've been keeping myself informed. However, unfortunately, for someone with a channel the size of my channel, I don't have as much influence as I would like. And also, like I've said previously, I am not a lawyer. I'm not sure if I said it in this video, though, because it's been multiple takes that I've been recording this on. But I'm not a lawyer, and I do not have as much knowledge about U.S. law as I would like to, particularly copyright law. I would really love to know more about copyright law. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So my impact on these subjects is very minimal. I'm just trying to raise awareness and to see if people understand what is actually going on and to see if there's actually people who are in a position that they can make a difference to see this video and go out there and do whatever you can to make sure that we do get net neutrality. Something that I've also seen every now and then is a couple of people in Europe seem to think that this is not going to affect them because they're like, thank God I don't live in the United States. Really? Really? Do you not understand how the internet works? The internet is all connected. You understand this. So if there's going to be connection problems on the United States, those problems are going to propagate all over the place. Not to mention that this will be setting a standard that basically other ISPs will want to follow because they will be able to make more money off of it. So if this is allowed to happen in the United States, home of the free, land of the brave, all that stuff, how long do you think it's going to take until it actually gets to Europe? Not too long, I'll tell you that. I'll give you a couple of months, and that's it. So you should consider that before saying things like, oh, I'm glad I don't live in the States, because it's going to affect you as well. Make no mistake. Now, that's all I'm really going to be saying about net neutrality, because, again, I don't know a whole lot about the subject. Like I told you, I understand the concept of net neutrality. I understand what happened, but I don't understand why the FCC doesn't just fix it if, according to several of the articles that I read, they have the power to flat out fix it without even having any issues with courts or anything like that. They can just tell these ISPs, look, you guys just provide the cable and shut the fuck up. And if they can do that, just do it. I don't understand what the holdup is about. Maybe there's other things in play that I don't understand. I don't know. But I'm just trying to get people to understand that this is not as black and white as some people might make it seem. Anyways, moving right along, I want to talk about the PlayStation Now service. This is obviously a streaming service. It is the whole Gaikai thing. And to be honest, while it's a very interesting thing, it's interesting to be able to play PlayStation titles on your cell phone, but I don't really care that much about it. As a matter of fact, I don't even really care for this service, if I'm to be completely honest. Now, supposedly this would give us backwards compatibility with PlayStation 3 titles and all that. But once again, if I'm to be really 100% honest, at this point in my life, with the experience that I've had all my life in regards to my personal experience with the internet, and now we even see like net neutrality getting attacked, and what are the repercussions of that on a service like PlayStation Now? Would you have to pay more to have access to PlayStation Now? Would you have to pay to both Sony and your ISP? Who knows? So I'm not interested in a service that is dependent upon the internet to bring me my games. I'm not interested in that at all. And I understand that a lot of you guys might think that this is short-sighted or whatever, but at the end of the day, here's the thing. I've been in this earth for 31 years. Is it 31? Wow, I'm old. I've been in this earth for 31, and this is going to be my 32nd year in this earth. And in 32 years of existence, never have I been able to rely on an internet connection for more than a couple of months. Yeah, I've never been able to actually rely on an internet connection for more than a couple of months, which it really saddens me because internet connections are unstable. They're unstable. They go down on the worst moments. A lot of times they flat out refuse to work when you want to. Like even now, I'm making a video. I'm going to be uploading it on YouTube, and I'm not exactly sure when the video is going to be available. Is my internet connection going to fail on me and prevent me from uploading this video in the time frame that I have allotted for it? Who knows? I don't, because I don't trust my internet connection. As a matter of fact, I trust so little in internet connections that I have 2 internet connections in my house just to ensure that whenever one of them messes up, I have another one for backup. That's how much I trust internet connections right now. Not to mention I have also the other incident that I've had with an ISP. So a service like PlayStation Now, while it might be interesting and all that, I will never want to have a service that does not do the processing on my end of things. I want all the processing to be done on my end. I don't want your cloud power. I don't want your servers streaming stuff. I don't want any of that. Okay? I want to play the game. I want to have no delays. I want to not have to worry about my internet connection crapping out on me. I don't want any of that at all. As a matter of fact, like I've been telling you guys in the past, I don't even want digital games. I want discs. I like discs. Because even this is another topic that I need to get into. I mean, I've pretty much explained my views on PlayStation Now. I'm not against the service, mind you. I just hope that they don't become overly dependent on it and then just release like a small box and say, hey, this is the PlayStation 5. It's like a stream box, kind of like the OnLive console. I hope that never happens. It might happen. I hope it doesn't, because that is the day that I stop having interest in such things. So, yeah, so in regards to the whole PlayStation Now thing, I'm not against it, but I'm not a user. I'm not going to be a user of that service. I don't intend on using that service. I will always prefer to have the games on my end, be it digital or whatever. And like I was saying, I want to talk a little bit about digital games as well, because a lot of people say, oh, but digital is so much convenient, so much this, that, and the other. I wonder if you people have been following the games that have been slowly disappearing, like the games that disappear from Steam because they're digital and apparently someone lost license to something and now they had to remove games. There's games disappearing from Xbox Live Arcade. There's games disappearing from the PlayStation Network as well. And I mean, I wonder how the people who purchased those digital games feel now. Do you still like the digital thing? Is it fun? Is it good? Is it nice to have all these digital games? It's not, because yeah, licenses do expire and servers expire. Like, companies will not pay for servers forever. And when a game requires servers in order to work, you're kind of screwed. Yeah, that's right. It's going to keep happening. Digital games are going to keep coming off the market. And I know that I'm kind of like all doom and gloom here, but I'm just saying, I still prefer good old disc-based media. I just pull out my disc, stick it in the drive, just works. I love it. I'm sorry. I guess I'm an old-fashioned guy. Like I said, I am going to reach 32 years old this year, so I'm getting old-fashioned. But definitely not a fan of digital content when it comes to games, obviously. But it's obviously going to be something that we have to deal with in the future, but it definitely needs to be handled in a way that the consumer is not just purchasing a license to use the software. Like, I want to actually own something when I buy a digital digital game or something. I want to actually own it and not just own a license to play it, because that is essentially what you do. If you guys actually read the EULAs and all that other stuff, you don't actually buy games. You buy licenses to use games when you buy them digitally. I mean, even when you buy the disc, you're also buying a license to use the game. The difference is that since you own the disc, it's kind of harder for them to prevent you from, playing your game. At least usually it is, unless there's servers and whatnot. Either way, I'm kind of rambling. Let's talk about early access games. What is my opinion on early access games? 2013 has definitely been a year where we've seen this quite a lot, and at the start I wasn't really against it, but now that I've kind of seen the effects of early access games, I have to say that I've grown increasingly against early access. And you guys might be wondering, but why? And the reason is pretty simple. It seems to me that a lot of the companies that are doing early access games, and please don't make me say, don't take this out of context like I'm saying that every single company that makes an early access game is just a greedy bastard looking to steal people from their money and all that stuff. Don't go that way. I'm just saying that a lot of the companies that are working on early access games seem to lose interest once you buy into the early access thing. Like they just put the game on Steam, early access, you buy into it, they make a ton of money. What is then their motivation for actually finishing the game? It's not going to be that much because they've already made most of the money, because a lot of people will buy into early access because they do get the games cheaper. But at that point, a great majority, like 80 to 90% of the people that were going to buy that game have already bought it. Because this is an industry driven by passion, and gamers will buy games like as soon as they can get their hands on the game that they want to play, they'll buy it. Like, for instance, you know how many people would buy like Dark Souls 2 if it was an early access? I would guarantee you a ton of people would buy Dark Souls 2 if it was an early access. And that's not a good thing. Like, a lot of people will say, oh, but that's a good thing because this industry, and it's good for the industry growth, and everybody wants to invest, and it's nice, and there's money flowing all over the place. It's not a good thing because a lot of the times these games take a lot longer to get finished. Like and this goes for Kickstarter as well. I've become somewhat not that supportive of Kickstarter too, because, for instance, I bought into a Kickstarter game that was supposed to be finished on February 2013. It's still in active development today. And there hasn't even been a beta or alpha or anything that we've been able to play. And it's Carmageddon Reincarnation. And I'm not saying that they're not working on it. Sure, they're working on the title, but it was supposed to be finished on February 2013. And I don't know, you know? Then there was also Delver's Drop. I'm not even sure how Delver's Drop is at this point. But then there's also another thing that happens when people buy into early access games. At least I know it happens to me. Is that I play the early access version of the title. And then as they slowly update the title, I seem to lose interest. Because I feel that I've already gotten a lot of enjoyment out of it. And that is another problem with early access games. Like, for instance, I was excited as hell to play Blackguards. And please, don't take this out of context. Blackguards is an amazing game. I really like Blackguards. But I played that alpha version, and for whatever reason, I haven't been able to get back to it. Then again, I'm someone who's pretty tight in terms of time. But I've never gotten back to it. And I've been wondering if I lost interest because I played that really early version, and it kind of dimmed my interest to it a little bit. I don't know. I mean, even Dark Souls 2, it's not early access, but I played the beta, and I have to say, it got to a point where I was playing the beta so much when we could, because it was like 2 hours at a time, that I was almost like, man, I wish I didn't have to play this beta, because I wish I would only play the actual end game. But obviously, someone in my position, I will always have to play betas and stuff like that. It's just something that I personally will have to deal with. But early access games, and then there's also the fact that with all this adoption rate, you're starting to see major publishers go into early access, like Ubisoft with Ghost Recon Online. They're going into early access. And I don't like the direction that this is going, because I'm one of those guys that, like, look, I want a game that's finished, which is one of the reasons why I like the philosophy behind From Software. Because, like, when people ask them about DLC and all that stuff, they're like, no, it's like, we want to ship a game that's finished. We don't want to be, like, charging people for DLC or any of that bullshit. No, we want to ship a game that's finished and that's it. And that is something that I want to see the industry go more towards. I want to get a game that's finished. I want to pay the money. I want to get the game, and that's it. I don't want to have to deal with any of this early access, whatever. And you guys are like, oh, but you're not forced to it. I'm not. But the fact of the matter is, like I said, 90 to 80% of the people are going to buy it early access, and that is going to highly diminish the motivation to actually finish the title because the money has already changed hands at this point to a lot of companies anyways. I'm not saying that this is the case for everyone. And then on to the other topic, which is the Steam machines. How do I feel about the Steam machines? Well, I think the Steam machines were a huge waste of time. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can really say about the Steam machines. Because, I mean, I thought that these were going to be actual, there was going to be some form of standardization. But when they came up with, I think it's 13 different models of Steam machines, and each of them has it has so much variety in specs. Like, I was hoping that it was going to be a little bit more of a closed platform, kind of like more console-y, so to speak. And that was not what the Steam machines were at all. There's 13 of them, and it's like, to me, when I started reading about the Steam machines and I started reading the different setups and all that other stuff, I was like, so how is this any different than building your PC? Like, to be honest, I prefer building my PC. It seems less complicated than selecting a friggin' Steam machine. I'm not even kidding you. To me, it seems less complicated to just go up to any website that you can build a PC on, build my own PC as I want to build the damn thing, and just buy it that way, as opposed to looking at one of the 13 Steam machines. It just adds a ton more confusion. Now, I understand that the Steam machines are also going to be running Steam OS, but if I remember correctly, Steam OS is going to be available for everyone, so I can build my own Steam box without needing the Steam box. If I want to get one of those computers to just stream stuff onto my television in the living room or whatever, which is supposedly something that the Steam OS is going to allow us to do, I'll just build a computer with the minimum specs needed for the Steam OS to run and install Steam OS onto it. And that really is all there is to it. There's no reason to buy a Steam machine, as far as I can tell. So I really didn't understand what the whole point was behind the Steam machines. I guess maybe I just don't get it. I don't know. But to me, it seems a lot easier to just build your own computer. It seems like it's also going to be a lot less of a hassle than having to look at the specs of 13 different machines and wonder which one I should buy. Not to mention that if these Steam machines are going to be sold on several locations, you're not only going to be looking at 13 different models of Steam machines, you're also going to be looking at the different prices on retailers for those Steam machines to find the best price for the Steam machine that you want, which to me doesn't really, it just seems to complicate things even more, which I thought the objective of the Steam machines was to simplify PC gaming to be more friendly to people who prefer consoles over PCs. And it seems like it did the exact opposite. So, I don't know. Maybe I just don't get the whole Steam machines deal. But I think most people have been disappointed by what they expected of the Steam machines. Also, I'm sorry if this particular Conscast is a little bit more edited than normal with more cuts. But I'm still not 100% recovered from my illness, which meant that I had to cough quite a few times throughout this episode. So, sorry about those cuts. Usually I prefer recording these in one big long blurb, particularly because it keeps my mind flowing into the commentary. So you guys might have noticed that I've kind of like, I was going on a tangent, then suddenly I stop, and then I start slow again. That's why. Anyways, as per usual, thank you very much for watching. This has been my opinion on Net Neutrality, PlayStation Now, Early Access, and Steam machines. I might be doing a couple of more Conscasts for news every now and then, because there are a couple of things that have been happening that I want to give my opinions on. So we'll see how that plays out. As per usual, your feedback, all the kinds of good stuff in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.